Hi, Bill. Hello. Hi. God, I haven't disabled this waiting room. Oh,
That's a
oh,
nice background, Carol.
thank you. I don't wake somebody up. Hey, Kathy.
Hi, Carol. Hi, Carol. Hey, go eat your food. That's Miss Carol to you.
Hello, dear one.
Hello, everybody.
think,
That is a very nice
Reading.
background.
oh, thank you.
Gosh, how
Kind
did,
of busy.
yeah, but it's nice, vibrant colors. It keeps you
Yeah.
awake.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see, Bill got Margot on.
Yeah. He's hiding behind Margot.
Yeah.
I gotta get this waiting room off. God. Ugh. Oh. There. I've disabled the waiting room. Hey, Rob.
Greetings, how are you folks?
Oh, good. How are you?
I'm
Hello.
doing well.
Great.
Can't complain.
Hey, Susan. We've got on our orange sweaters. Oh, I can't hear you. It's okay. Are you warm yet?
Yes.
Oh, good, good.
And we turned the heat up more than we usually keep it
I
up.
understand. Even with the heat on, I've been known to go in my kitchen and turn on the oven and let that heat out.
Yeah.
I felt for you because it was so cold this morning.
Yeah, it was cold. But the funny thing was, it wasn't any colder than the morning before. Even
Really?
though, I mean, outside, I think it was colder, but because we had turned up the heat so high last
Right.
night before it went off, it just took a while to.
That's good. So Mark fixed it?
Yeah, he ended up because it was just this one part that was not hard to fix.
Wow, that's great.
Once the guy identified, he came and he confirmed what Mark already believed about it needed a new igniter.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy didn't have it. He didn't have it. So if he had come back with it, it would have cost us like mucho bucks.
Yeah. I forget Mark is in that industry. He knows. That's a good thing. Mm. Her husband Mark builds houses.
Wow. And built right now he's converting our office space in Unionville to a house because nobody wants office space anymore, but
Yeah.
hopefully somebody will want a house.
Yeah.
I think they will.
Where is it in Unionville, Susan?
Well, it's you know, have you been in the little village of, oh, of course you have. You live nearby. Okay, well, it's you would turn on Wollaston Road going towards Kennett Square, and you would go like a quarter of a mile. You'd pass the church and a couple of houses, and then what's the name of that street? What's the name of the street, Mark? Anyway, you'd pass one intersection, and then you'd see this low building with stone at one end, and that's the office building.
Oh, nice,
We're turning it into a ranch.
nice.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about moving back?
I actually love to, but no, we're gonna rent it out. It's
Okay.
you know,
Okay. I was gonna say,
retirement.
you just got here. You just got to Delaware.
Well, it feels like it, but you know, we've been here 8 years. It's unbelievable.
Really?
I know.
Jeez. Wow. Hey, Bill. Looking good.
Likewise,
Bless your heart.
it needs a blessing.
Bill, you mentioned Ben Franklin High School in New York a few
Yeah.
times.
Yes, been doing Franklin, huh? Yes, go ahead.
Did you go there by any chance?
No, I did not. We competed against them.
Okay.
Bobby Beeman went to Benjamin Franklin High. He won the long jump and set a record in Mexico City in 1968.
Yeah.
Bob Beeman.
Right.
And they had a couple of good shot putters there. They had some good mile relay teams. They were pretty good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, I'm familiar with it because I went to Benjamin Franklin High School in Philadelphia. But then when
Okay.
I went to St. Louis for graduate school, I had a young man, maybe came in maybe 1970, 69 or 70,
Mm-hmm.
who was from Benjamin Franklin High School in New York. He was a
Mm-hmm.
Japanese American student who lived in Harlem.
Okay.
So he came with all the flash and bling. You know, you would think that he was, African American from Harlem. So that was
He
his
absorbed the culture.
orientation. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I remember the colors as being, I think, blue and orange or something like that. I'm trying to remember. I remember so many of the colors of the schools, like Wingate High School, red and white. Mine were blue and red, and the Boys High and Andrew Jackson High.
Did you
So
go to
many
boys?
girls from there.
Well, you had
Machine.
boys high.
No, I went to East New York, East New York High School.
Okay.
Boys High was on Marcy Avenue near Reverend Gardner C. Taylor's church, Concord Baptist.
Yeah, I
But
think we had
those
some
were the
classmates.
days.
Carl and I had some classmates who went to boys high, I believe.
Yeah, they were excellent track and field team too. Like I said, we had the best athletes in the country at that point in time, and now we're faded away.
Boys High was in where? Brooklyn?
Brooklyn, yes.
Mm.
You've heard of Gardner C. Taylor,
Oh, yeah.
right across from Concord Baptist Church.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then there's Girls High, so they called it. It's now Boys and Girls High.
That's where all I remember is, I mean, I don't know much about New York schools. I just know they were huge.
Oh yeah. And
Uh,
then we show up and try to show out at the pin relays in your neck of the woods.
Right. I used to recruit for Lincoln in Brooklyn, as well as for University of Pennsylvania.
Mm, yeah.
And the schools, I just never seen such student populations, because then there were double sessions even. My good Lord.
Mm. Well, I'm sorry you missed me because I didn't have the the Lincoln University information. I
Yeah,
definitely would have
yeah,
made some moves. I didn't have it. I'll be very honest. Most of our counselors back then, I'll be very candid. They didn't even spur or suggest that we go on to college.
Right.
So I lost
Right.
so many of my friends in Vietnam, and they didn't encourage us to take the SATs or the ACTs or anything. And my classmate Arturo Lindsay, who chaired the art department at Spelman, we were roommates in college. We're putting together a memoir, if you will, of our experiences and the disparity and encouragement to go into college, etc. Very discouraging when we think about it. We got to finish before we leave the living.
Right. I was looking at famous alumni of Boys High. It's Norman Mailer, Isaac Asimov,
Oh yeah.
Aaron Copland. Wow.
Wow.
Max Roach, Lenny Wilkins,
Yeah.
Connie Hawkins. Wow.
Yeah. Connie Hawkins was something. It was
Mm.
before my time. We had quite a few well-known alums of East New York High School as well. A couple of actors and things like that.
Wow.
Yeah, those were the days.
So Girls High was the sister school of Boys High, I guess.
Pretty much so. My sister school was Clara Barton because it was an all-boys school when I went there. East
okay.
New York, all boys, all male. Mhm. And now it's co-ed.
Mm.
I'll
Oh, okay.
I'll just say this so you'll laugh.
But they still call it Girls High?
No, it's I went back as the speaker for my 50th year reunion. It was 2015, since I graduated in 1965. It was very strange with all of the ladies there, but it was very endearing. It made a good impression. A good
Better school, right?
Yeah,
Better
this- the
school
rest-
with the women, right?
yeah, right. Because, but I'm glad there were no ladies there when I went to school. I'll leave it there.
So everyone should have a syllabus. I saw fit to get rid of as many words as I possibly could and still make it passable. I edited it.
Edit.
all. Good.
I'm sorry, Dr. Button, did you send that out to us?
Yes, Carol sent it out.
Mm-hmm. Only about 15 minutes ago, Rob.
Oh, okay, I'm just getting back to the computer. Okay, thanks.
And
Oh,
students,
darn.
Nazira, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Did you get the syllabus in your email?
Yes, I just had a question because it said that the office hours listed were 4 to 5 a.m.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Oh,
Well, that was,
I think that was right.
I think that's the morning I woke up at 4 o'clock. So I put a PM on that.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you. Any other typos? That's great. Nazira keeps me on my toes. Yeah. I just put the basic readings down and I'll give you an update on the library. I don't have an update on the library issues right now. But it's basically what we talked about. So today we're going to do the bio sketches. Nazira, are you ready with a couple bio sketches to talk about?
I don't have them completed, but
You can talk
I
about it.
do. Yeah.
Okay, good, good. That's good. Because our purpose is just to go over a long list of people and just kind of get a sense of who we're talking about here.
and I think if you particularly like what you're hearing, make sure you write that person's name down because that may become the person that you can actually, write about.
Is Ms. Outerbridge on? I don't see her.
I don't see her.
I'm going to take attendance and point out the ones that are not listed here. We had to turn the rosters in today, and I don't have Kia, Shania Dubose, or Anissa Barbara McNeish on the list. So here's Tamara, are you here, Chalmers?
Yeah, she's on.
I'm here.
Oh, great. Mia, are you here?
Mia's here.
Okay, how about Deja Outerbridge? No, not yet, right?
I don't see Deja.
Okay, Sarah, Abigail.
She's on.
Oh, good. Nazira, you're here. Taylor Shelton.
She's here.
Yes, I'm here.
Wonderful. Stephanie, Stephen Osar Stevens.
He's never been here.
He's never been here.
Mhm.
All right. So, oh dear. Okay. All right. Anissa Barbara McNeish
I don't know where Anissa is. She should be on.
and Shania Dubose. She should be here too. And Kia Punter. And Kia most certainly should be here.
Kia
She's
Mosley
she
said
is here.
He is here. Okay, great.
Kaya.
Kaya.
Kaya. Kaya.
Oh dear, back to my old habits. Shania Dubose. All right, so I'll don't know what to do about these people. I guess I'll send them an email and ask them if they're in the class, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, so Carol, would you like to give an update of any kind, or?
No. We're good. Just want to hear I'm anxious to hear the bio sketches. And who's first?
Why don't we start with Tamara? Let's go alphabetically.
Okay.
Tamara?
You have to unmute.
Oh,
Tamara has to.
Tamara has to unmute.
Tamara has to, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, hi. Am I supposed to share my screen or because I don't have a PowerPoint or anything? I just have words.
Words are fine, Tamara. You can show yourself. Are you willing to show yourself
Yes.
and be a person to us as opposed to a picture?
Now, who's your mentor, Tamara?
Miss Suzanne.
Who?
Miss Suzanne.
Suzanne? Oh, Susan. Oh, okay.
Sorry. Okay, so you want me to share my screen?
Not, it's up to you. Not necessarily. What do you, well, you have something to show us?
Well, attached to it just a few pictures of.
Okay, we'll show the screen, sure.
Okay. Oh, it says the host disabled participant screen sharing.
I did? Let me do something about that. Well, let me see what I can do.
Before
I'll
you-
make you a co-host that way.
Before, I think.
That way you can share.
Okay, it's not me sharing.
Oh,
Okay. So first up, we have Dr. Soraya M. Coley. She's a class of 1972. So Dr. Soraya M. Coley, she's a precise woman. She believes that if you want something, it is worth far more to fight for it. Dr. Coley was raised in North Carolina during segregation. She used her testimony of being overlooked to push her into the direction of prosperity. Dr. Coley graduated from Lincoln University in 1972 with a BA in sociology. Soon after, she received her master's at Bryn Mawr
it's
Bryn Mawr.
Bryn Mawr.
Bryn Mawr.
Bryn Mawr College in social planning and social research. And she also received her PhD there as well in social planning and policy. She is married to Ron Colley, who served in the Marine as well. And she's also a member of American Council of Education Women's Network. Dr. Colley became the first female president of California State Polytechnic University of Pomona. She started her presidency year in 2014. She's still currently the president as well. Scholars will define her as sharp, motivated, and open-hearted. So while Dr. Colley has achieved many, she continues to remind herself, if I'm running on empty, all I need to do is go out and engage with students, and I'm full. So that is Dr. Soraya M. Coley.
Actually, she pronounces her name Soraya.
Soraya, thank you.
I happen to know her personally. I knew her when she was a grad student at Bryn Mawr.
Oh, that's awesome.
Her boyfriend at the time was a Lincoln person.
Wow. How long did you know her? Did you know her before, like after she graduated Lincoln?
I knew her. Oh no, I guess I knew her while she was a student at Lincoln. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I going to the next person now?
Sure.
Three. Okay. So we have the Honorable Lieutenant, now Lieutenant Governor Sheila Y. Oliver. She's a woman who believes that advocacy starts when someone takes a leap of faith. Oliver is from Newark, New Jersey, excuse me, because I'm from Newark, Delaware, so let me pronounce it right. Newark, New Jersey. She graduated cum laude from Lincoln University. After great achievements, she soon received an honor. Oh, let me screw it up so you see a picture. An honorary doctorate degree from Lincoln as well. She's a firm believer in standing up for social justice, as well as the women's equality and education. She leaves her mark in New Jersey as she served as the 34th Legislative District in New Jersey's General Assembly. She's also the first African American woman in the state to serve as Assembly Speaker. And not only is any of that, she's also an East Orange Board of Education member and the Essex County Board of Children Freeholders. And she's also the first woman of color to serve in a statewide elected as officer in the New Jersey's history. And then we have Christian Fleetwood. He was a remarkable man. He graduated in 1860, so I know it's a huge gap from the other two. He's from Baltimore, Maryland, and he also, being that he graduated in 1860, he was actually there when Lincoln University was actually named Ashland Institute. So he originated from Baltimore, Maryland, and there in Maryland, he was a part of he worked for the Colonization Society, as well as he published a newspaper titled Lyceum Observer, and that was among the first African-American papers in the border slave state. He also enlisted in the Army in August of 1863, and he also received a Medal of Honor based on his performance. And after his disappointment, not disappointment, but like after he finished the Army, he went on to be employed by federal and district governors, also as well as in the state of Washington D.C., I believe. So yes, these are my three people. We have Christian Fleetwood, Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver, and so is it Soror? Dr. Soror?
Soraya Coley.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Soraya Coleman.
Uh, any questions? Okay. We'll wait for you to call the next victim.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Dr. Button.
All right, the next victim is Mia. Okay, Mia.
Mia.
And by the way, I'm taking notes, and Tamara, we'll talk about, I'd like to go over some of this writing with you when we're finished. I think maybe when we go over, you'll notice on the syllabus, there is an opportunity to review, to do some peer editing. So we're not going to take the time to do that today, but I want to encourage everybody to use the Writing Center when you do your writing, just to have another pair of eyes on what you're producing. And we're going to catch little things as we go along. Right, so Mia.
And you must always use spell check and grammar check. Always. Even if you think it's right. I mean, I happen to have this habit of doing double words. I'll do the twice because I'm thinking, and it picks it up nicely.
Is Mia ready? Sorry, my environment is there's something in the chat here.
Excuse me.
Okay. Mia, so she's not ready. She has her research.
She just said it's loud where she is. Mia, can you go somewhere where it's not so loud? And we'll do somebody else while you're doing that.
All right, so Nazira, let's hear from Nazira.
Is it possible for me to present the next class? I emailed you, Dr. Button. I didn't realize that bio sketches were due today because I wasn't here last class.
Can you summarize? Do you have any knowledge of her characters at all, Nazira?
Yeah, I could do that.
Could you tell us who they are and why you think they're good candidates for a larger article? That would be fine for today. We'll worry about the.
Okay, so my three people were Charles Saunders, Franklin Williams, and Howard King. And after meeting with Dr. Stevens, my mentor, we thought that it would be best to switch Howard King with Roderick Ireland, who graduated in the same class. So Charles Saunders, he was sort of local. He lived in Norristown and he came to Lincoln University. He was a graduate. He graduated class of 68 and he was a poet. Let's see. Okay, I know that he fought in, oh, I'm sorry. So he graduated with a degree in psychology, and he worked as a teacher and a civil servant before he started a career in journalism. And
can you give us some dates?
Sure.
So Nazira, are you saying you emailed it and you don't have it with you? Because I think I might have it then.
No, I'm saying I had emailed Dr. Button to see what I missed in the previous class, and she didn't get back to me yet. So my mentor sent me a summary of what was spoken about, discussed. But yeah, I didn't realize that bio sketches were due today.
Well, no,
but I do have some basic of each person. That's why I asked if I could present next class.
I just thought That's okay. Do you have a date, Nazir? We're not putting you on the spot. We just want to get a sense of who these people are so that we can make larger assignments. This is not this, so that's the goal of today's class. There's no particular pressure on you at this point. But if you can say something about them, that would be helpful. That's all.
Okay. So he fought in the Vietnam War in 1969. Well, he was drafted to fight, but then he instead moved to Canada for about 15 years. And afterwards, he moved to Nova Scotia, where he lived the rest of his life. So there he worked as a teacher up until 1989, and then he began a career in journalism. So often he wrote papers, unsigned editorials, and he wrote 4 nonfiction books about the Nova Scotia Black community.
That's a lot to work with. That's very helpful. That's exactly what we need to hear. So you commend him as a journalist and as a writer, and that sounds like a very, very interesting person. That's terrific.
But actually, he's known for maybe where's Rob? You want to fill her in just a little bit because he's famous for something else she didn't mention.
What do you call me? Superhero
Yes.
characters?
Yes,
Yeah,
superhero character. He's a cartoonist.
right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. And so, so he was the class after us.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so he was.
In fact, yeah.
we were on
I want to
campus
send
together.
you all a link. The New York Times recently, maybe about 2 weeks ago, had an obituary about him. And let me send it to you.
Did he just die recently?
Yes,
Yes.
just about. No, he died last May,
Oh,
but nobody knew about it. He was a total recluse. No
Hmm.
internet, no phone, no electricity. And that's the way he preferred to live.
Oh my goodness.
And here's the link. I just sent it to you. You may want to look at it quickly because you'll see his picture. He looks nothing like he looked at Lincoln.
Oh my goodness.
Brilliant guy,
Tall, thin guy
tall and thin. Yep.
at Lincoln.
Mhm. He was a wonderful speaker.
Hmm.
I remember him. He was bright, but he was an individual, fiercely independent.
I'll bet the student newspapers probably have some articles by him, perhaps, if he wrote while he was on campus, and also.
Oh, he did. He was one of the editors of the yearbook as well as the newspaper.
Okay, yeah, I feel like I should remember him, and
I got a picture. I'll send it. Let me
Yeah.
send this picture. Somewhere along here, I got a picture.
Nazir, what you're doing is just a sparking. There's a wealth, an ocean of knowledge in this group. So you're just triggering the knowledge, okay?
Mhm.
Okay.
Next, I have Franklin Williams, and
What year is Franklin Williams?
class of 41, and he was a diplomat. He was a civil rights activist and attorney, and he was actually assistant to Thurgood Marshall. So he represented the NAACP numerous times throughout the South. And in 1950, he was appointed director of the NAACP's Western region. And he did that for 9 years, where he directed drives involving housing, open housing, and school desegregation and civil rights.
Okay, that's good.
Mhm.
And he was a diplomat to, do we know? I'm sure we do know where he was a diplomat.
The U.S. ambassador of Ghana.
Ghana, okay.
Mhm.
And if my memory serves me right, he donated artifacts to Lincoln. So I believe some of the things in the African Museum would be,
Right.
in the African collections would be, there might even be a collection named after him. But yeah,
There's
he's
a
a great wonder.
woodcut. Susan Smock, I remember, did a woodcut of
And he was very active his whole life at Lincoln University as an alum. and served on the Board of Trustees, and actually was also appointed to the Barnes board before it became the Barnes that it is today, and actually held it together. And we really think that it was only because of his sudden passing that all these changes happened with respect to the Barnes, because he was definitely holding it within Lincoln's domain, and it changed after that.
Wow. Mhm.
And then lastly, I had Roderick Ireland, class of 66. And he is the Associate Justice of the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court. Dr. Stevens recommended him to me because I could bring him in as a speaker to the Thurgood Marshall Law Society. Yeah, we're looking to do a clinic with, a lot of alum who are in the legal field. So he was one of the main people who we thought I should bring in as a speaker. So he served as an adjunct professor in the School of Criminology and Criminal Justice. He taught at Harvard Law School, Boston University Law School, Northeastern, and the University of Massachusetts. He's been on faculty of New York University's Law School's Appellate Judges Seminar since 2001. And he's the author of 2-volume treatise on Massachusetts juvenile law.
Okay. Sounds like a really.
Tell me his name again, Roderick. Last name?
Ireland,
Ireland.
Ireland,
Yeah,
Ireland.
Rick Ireland, as we know.
Oh, Roderick Island, okay.
Who would have ever thought when he was a student, he'd become Associate Justice of the Supreme Court?
Yeah, we have a lot of characters who become very prominent citizens
Mhm.
Very much so.
that surprise us all,
Mhm.
many of us at least. One of the things that we might want to do as we move forward is either develop not necessarily, maybe a format by which the biographical essays may take,
Okay.
and with some of the elements. And for example, Rick Ireland was accused, if I remember correctly.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So sometimes it may be just what type of activities were they engaged in while at Lincoln? What were some of their contributions to the larger society? What were some of their contributions to their professional or their career path, their professional organizations, or to their profession? What were their contributions to Lincoln as alumni? So, I mean, these are just some things that occurred to me as I was reading both the essay, the sketches that my mentees were preparing, and then as I was doing work on the different, I did background work on each of the ones that my students had in order to be able to give them some advice. But these are some of the things that popped into my head. In other words, do we have a format that we want to follow or use in guiding the writing of these essays?
That is a really terrific suggestion, and I think a pattern of uniformity would give more cohesion to the whole volume. And it's a great suggestion. I've noted what you've said, and I'll type that up, and then we can use that as a format. So,
and that may help students as they go about and encounter a lot of information, or maybe even help direct them into certain areas.
absolutely.
Right. Good point.
Yeah, very, very good point. Thank you.
And I want to mention the yearbooks are a good source of the activities that they were in. And again, the student newspapers are
Yes. Yeah.
a source.
And if we want to do interviews for those who are of the 20th, 21st century, or some other means, we can get some rabble on. We can get some inside information on. Or insights into some of the students, and they may share some things about themselves as well. So, but anyway, just some thoughts that I came across as I was working with the material this weekend.
That's
Right.
good. It's good, really good.
So maybe the introductory paragraph could give sort of a general broad sweep with the facts of the life. And then the development of the essay could concentrate on these areas that you mentioned.
Yeah, and another thing would be the time period, the context.
Absolutely. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah, because that would be very significant as well.
Yes, it sure would.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because with my mentees, one of them had 3 alumni from the 19th century,
Mm.
different eras of the 19th century. And then the other one had, I think, 2 from the 20th century. And so, and now we have, and now we're looking at people's lives into the 21st century.
Yeah.
So, you know, the circumstances under which they may have gotten into school, you know, graduate school, professional school, into Lincoln, the contributions they made to their professions, their career paths, would have all been affected by the time period in which they came along. So, so maybe something about the, you know, environmental or historical
Yes.
context may be another factor.
Yes.
That might
Very
be helpful.
important. Yeah.
And what
Like
we
Christian Fleetwood, you know, he actually had to leave Lincoln. It was a civil war, and everybody wanted to join up to help free each other. So,
one of the workshops we could do would be to group students who are working on alumni in the same period,
mhm.
and they could talk about the context and the historical, what were the movements, and maybe share information. We'll
Right.
see how that works out. Mhm.
Yes, because
That's a wonderful history lesson right there.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, because Tamara, one of her subjects works for the Maryland Colonization Society.
Yes.
And then we had some other people who, some Lincoln graduates who were involved with the Colonization Society and did some work in Liberia.
Mhm.
And so, so that's just your point is well taken. I mean, so that could be a discussion just around the whole movement and mindset of, you know, that historic event.
Well, now you'll notice on the syllabus that there are a lot of unclaimed Thursday slots. So what I propose is if you know a person who's particularly equipped to talk about a subject like the American Colonization Society, we could devote those times to that kind of enrichment, because I'm sure all of us would enjoy learning about it. And then all of us should be thinking about organizing this material. And I think the most logical way to do it is by date, by graduate. But then, so yeah, so if anybody of the mentors finds a topic that you'd like to talk about as a group, this is a wonderful forum for conversation and learning.
Mhm.
So let me and Carol know on those things so that we can pursue those guest speakers.
May I share something with you?
Sure.
What you're talking about, we call it prosopography in history. That is writing a biography based upon the time period and the environment in which the individuals lived. So it's called prosopography. You're looking at the time period, the circumstances, their environment, etc.
How do
Wonderful.
you spell that, Bill?
Yeah, it's
PRO, again, PRO, GRAPHY, prosopog, POG, graphy.
Oh, I see. Okay.
prosopography.
So that's again writing a piece of history or recounting it, an essay based upon the circumstances a person lived in.
Right.
I mean, mine would be a prosopographer if I wrote about what I dealt with in Bedford-Stuyvesant and Harlem, the circumstances surrounding ceilings falling, rodents, rats, slums, and things like that, and the school systems. in the time period of the 50s and 60s. Also, again, the civil rights movement as well. We mentioned Liberia quite a bit. And there's one piece that I want us to make sure we don't lose out on. And I think Jehudi Hasman, and I think of others who were very much involved with what happened in Liberia. I think of Robert Joseph Jenkins and what happened to the indigenous people there. I think of Lot Carey. Don't know how much you know about Lot Carey, but he was from Richmond and he was in the colonization movement, and the missionaries showed up. Remember, when the missionaries showed up, the Africans had the land and the missionaries had the Bibles. When the missionaries left, of course, or backed off a little bit, the Africans had the Bibles and the missionaries had the land. And I'm not trying to be negative, but Lot Carey, he died actually as a result of an explosion making ammunition to ward off and or to subdue the indigenous people in Liberia. So many of the free blacks were not very nice to those indigenous people when they got to Liberia. So it was a very positive thing on the one hand, but rather negative on the other. And I'm not bashing anything here. I'm just saying we need to tell the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say. So forgive me for being so long-winded.
No, you're absolutely right. That's why I was talking about, that's why I mentioned, because if you look at the attitude that we took over there in terms of African Americans' attitudes towards the native people of those areas, and look at read the writings, their reports back home, they will reflect that. And even into the modern day, I mean, well, up to the 60s, 70s, when the Americo-Liberians were the ruling class, and their way of treating the rest of the population there in Liberia. I mean, gave rise to a lot of the conflicts that that led to some very severe outcomes later on. So yeah, but that's part of our story.
Yes, yes. And I meant to say Joseph Jenkins Roberts. My mind reversed the name again. Joseph Jenkins Roberts, and that connection to Lincoln University. And remember, the American Colonization Society was still around up until at least 1924. I mean, I stumbled across some of that in the U.S. archives when I was there. You would have thought it disappeared, but it was around in the 20th century.
And that's there are minutes also, minute books that are part of the digital collections. I don't know if you've seen them in the.
I haven't seen it, but I know.
Yeah, and the online collections. I forget what year they go up to, but they go into the 20th century. There are two sets of. There's the Pennsylvania. There was the Pennsylvania. Actually, they don't have the American colonization. They have the Pennsylvania Colonization Society and the Young Men's Colonization Society, because the founders were very much involved with the colonization movement.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
I think Dr. Gooch's book presents a pretty fair assessment of all that.
Does she?
Maybe even emphasizes the positive motives of the Amos brothers as they go over and try to start agricultural schools and build the economy.
Oh, yeah.
So, I think both sides are important.
Yes, ma'am. Particularly
our brothers Amos.
Mm-hmm.
And remember too, who you're writing to. It's Lincoln alumni. Of course, there will be many more people be reading this, but they're going to be interested in, well, what did these people do at Lincoln University? So this is when it becomes important that you look through those newspapers and yearbooks and find that kind of information. Did they contribute to the university? What Rob was saying and Dr. Button was saying. But you're not going to know if they're not living. You better have to really dig and read. But the record is there. And you now have to be the forensic journalist and find it.
Carol, do we have any of the Liberian, isn't there an alumni association or a group of alumni whose families were over in Liberia, and particularly those who were shot at the Civil War? I forget the guy's name who served in the government. It's a Lincoln, a very heroic service and heroic death, actually. have you included, do you know if we're including those people?
I'm not certain, but we
Oh,
certainly can add. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll check their names because I think that
Mhm.
there's some still alive who remember our alum who served in Liberia, and it's quite a story.
Well,
And-
I'll make a note to find out. Hey, Gloria, I see you. Gloria, I see you joined us. This will be her first time. Gloria Doolin Wilson. She's one of my classmates, and she is a journalist. And she is very knowledgeable, not only about Lincoln, but the world. And Gloria, you might be able to answer that question as well.
The name Dennis comes to mind. Is that one of
Oh, the dentist, yes,
Mhm.
yes.
I
Can you hear?
thought that's who she might have been talking about.
Yeah,
We've got some heroes walking around here
We
that
do have heroes. We sure do.
we have
yes.
a ton of heroes from Lincoln University, and it's a shame.
So, you know, as you, and I'm speaking to the mentors here, if you and mentees, as you're using or working on people who are around, there's no reason why we can't invite them to talk to our class.
Yes, yes.
In fact, that's exactly what those Thursday meetings are for.
Mhm. Definitely. And Mia says she's ready.
Okay, Mia, thank you.
To unmute.
Hello,
Hi,
can you guys hear me?
yes.
Okay. So I had Thelma Hill, class of 1971. She was an English teacher in Germantown. She was president of the National Alumni Association from 1992 to 1998. She has a degree in education from Rutgers. She was the instructor for Lincoln's Upward Bound program. And she's a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, as well as the Alumni Association Philadelphia chapter.
And her distinction is particularly,
English.
now I was talking in terms of her relationship with the Alumni Association.
Oh yes. From the articles that I've read, she has raised, I believe it was $10 million and donated that to the school. She was also recognized. Hello? Can you guys hear me? I feel like it's really loud.
Now we hear you fine.
Okay, perfect.
But I was looking for you to say she was the first woman to lead the Alumni Association of Lincoln University.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's noted.
Mm-hmm.
The next person I had was Dr. William A. Credit, or Reverend William A. Credit. He was born July 14th, 1864 in Baltimore. He was class of 1885. Around that time at Lincoln, it was a theological school seminary. So from there, he then went and became the first African American Baptist. He became the first pastor of the First African Baptist Church of Philadelphia in 1896. And he was pastor up until 1915. In 1905, he founded the Downing Industrial School. He was known throughout as a great speaker and preacher. He did a lot in Pennsylvania.
Very good.
And that's about it. But he's mostly acclaimed for being a pastor. He was a really good reverend.
Well, he was also a tremendous fundraiser. And that should be Downingtown Industrial School.
Downingtown.
Uh-huh.
And he
yeah,
participated in philanthropy.
yes.
Yes. Okay.
And, you know, there was a time when he came through Lincoln, you had to go to a prep school. You couldn't just come to Lincoln from any old place. And the reason for that was most of the, you know, the enslaved folks had no education. So you just couldn't come in not knowing anything. And so they created, or there were prep schools, usually created by the churches or by the community. And Downingtown Industrial School was one of those prep schools for Lincoln.
Hmm.
Okay.
In Lincoln's earliest years, they actually had their own prep department,
Mhm.
you know, for the same reason. And
Right.
I don't remember now when it was phased out. But again, the catalogs show that. It
Right,
shows
you're right.
the ones you see, there's a prep department. So
You had prep, you had academic, and you had the theological area.
Mhm.
There are 3 areas at Lincoln.
Carol, I have a question. This is Ajua. The first, he was a pastor of a first African Baptist church. Do you know, or Mia, did you see if it's located at 16th and Christian? It is diagonal from the house that was owned by Jack and Jill, the very founders of Jack and Jill. The community or the pastors just sold that church maybe 5 years ago. They took out all of the beautiful stained glass windows. Some pictures for you because I just passed it about an hour ago.
Mhm.
But it's the area in which I grew up. I can actually get some pictures and take some current pictures, and I would have to dig back into the history of my photos to look for pictures before they made their renovations. So as the neighborhood has become gentrified, it is a daycare, and slowly but surely, but there were some things they couldn't change. They could not take off the landmark. They couldn't change the kiosk on the outside. There was a bell. The bell stopped working, I don't know, maybe 12 years ago. So they still have the housing of the bell. It's real interesting. I would love to get those pictures to you. Just give me a week because I'm not going back down there this week. I will get the pictures to you and I will dig in my archives for former pictures. And I think that'd be something you'd like to know.
Yeah. Sounds good.
And wasn't that Marian Anderson's church?
That was Marian Anderson's church also.
Yes.
And the recreation center that's named after her is 2.5 blocks away.
Yeah, how far is the Y from there?
1 block.
Yes,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
close.
One
Yeah.
block is a block and a half.
Is that 18th and Christian?
17th and Christian, it's closest to 18th Street corner, but
Yeah,
it's blocked because this is at 16th and Christian.
right.
I used to live around the corner from there. I remember that church.
Mhm.
And they've pretty much taken all of the good, the beautiful and traditional out of it. And I didn't realize that's what they were doing to it.
They sold it. The person that actually sold it was a pastor from Jamaica. Of course, this was not his history and he didn't understand that, but he looked at the dollar signs that looked really, really promising. And so they're housed outside this city, I think in Collegeville or something. Wherever it was too far. I'm not going to visit them.
Hmm.
Okay.
Mia, do you have anybody else or is that?
I think Mia has one more, right?
Yep, there was
Yes,
3.
I have one more. Hello? Yes.
We hear you.
Okay, perfect. I had the last person was Mr. Horace Mann Bond.
Oh,
He was the great American historian. He was born November 8th, 1904 in Tennessee, Nashville. He was class of 1923. He was 19 when he graduated Lincoln. He was a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. They say that while he was at Lincoln, they had to remove him off campus because he was holding a gambling ring. But
Not
it's really
surprised.
funny because he was like noted to be like a great scholar. He was very involved on campus. He also became a prominent person for the Pan-African movement. What else?
Can you say something about his disciplines? What did he study? What was his occupation?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Sure. What were his disciplines? What did he study? What did he do professionally?
Okay, so Horace Van Bond studied I actually don't even know. Yeah, I do not know. What did he study?
He's known for some very famous studies in the field of
Pan-African?
no, it's the field of social work, social studies. And you'll probably find it.
Was it sociology?
One of his fields.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into that because
That's fine.
He's also famous for raising a very famous son.
Yes.
Julian Bond, who kind of followed in his dad's footsteps. You could also, anytime you talk about Lincoln men from back in that day, most of them between the 20s and the 40s were party animals, in addition to being very highly scholarly, accomplished. And that's almost anybody that I've ever read about. Somebody, they partied and they got into mischief and everything else. And that's because they were out there where they could do whatever they wanted to do, whenever they wanted to do, but they were brilliant.
He was young. He was younger than most of his classmates. What did you say? He was 19?
He was a genius.
he was 19. He graduated high school at 14.
Very.
Yeah, he was a prodigy.
He was a prodigy. Yes.
And he was an outstanding scholar as well.
Well, that's a prodigy.
Yes.
He was also he was the kind of person that magnetized people to him, which is why he had people like so many greats that came to Lincoln, not just because of Lincoln, but because of his personality and his whole outgoing nature. I mean, who gets Einstein to come to a little college back in the backwoods of Pennsylvania? And you just name all the people that he attracted to Lincoln University.
And you remember that's how the relationship with Dr. Albert Barnes began at the Barnes Foundation. They were just sitting on a train together and started talking. And I think Barnes was just blown away with Bond.
Well,
he magnetized so many people to that school. It was phenomenal. You figure during an age when Black people and white people certainly didn't speak or fraternize with each other. And he was bringing all kinds of people up and through there because he had that kind of way he was very outgoing. Julian was the same way, totally outgoing.
I think the Princeton connection was a good one as well for Einstein coming, because they had a long-standing relationship, as you know.
Princeton might have been, but I'm gonna tell you right now, even with Princeton, I would still put it on Bond. I mean, I never take away from what we have the capacity to do. So there may have been a part of the conduit, but the name may have come up through Princeton, but it was him who got the man to come out there.
Because of the Princeton connection, probably. I agree. There was so much reciprocity anyway. And remember, Princeton footed the bill from the beginning. I'm not discounting the great Horace Mann Bond at all, but I'm saying they had a long-standing reciprocal relationship anyway. Although Princeton from the beginning was not always the best school for people who look like us. That's all I was going to say.
The first faculty was primarily from Princeton.
That's right.
As were the first, the administrators. They all,
that's right.
Most of them came out of Princeton.
That's right. So the relationship was long-standing.
Wasn't Bond a University of Chicago man?
Yes.
Yes, I believe he was.
Yes, he was a historian. I mean, he did a lot of historical studies, especially on education in the South. Yeah, but he got his master's and his PhD from, I think, sociology or history. I'm not sure, from Chicago.
Chicago School.
Yeah. To say nothing of his book about Lincoln.
Yes.
I mean, that goes without saying, I guess.
Yes.
I have a question. did anyone find that in the public domain? I have a copy, but it's buried somewhere and it'll probably take me a week to dig it out from my basement. Is any,
We'll come help you dig.
huh?
We'll come
Carolyn,
help you
you
dig.
said there was an ebook of it. Did you say that it's been
I
digitized?
saw it when I looked online. There is an ebook.
Oh, if you look through the, on the OPAC, on the.
I just Googled it and there was one.
Huh.
One ebook?
Mhm.
Watch it, you're hitting my cord.
I mean, I
Be
think when I
careful.
clicked on that link, it didn't take me anywhere, but you know, I didn't stay with it either.
Well, Tamara and I looked, we were on the online catalog earlier today. And wait a minute, I think I looked up his book, Education for Freedom, and I didn't see an online copy there.
I didn't
I
either.
went to the
because I did
catalog.
the same thing.
So, I mean, I personally have a copy of it, but it's a very thick book.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, yeah.
It
This
is.
is like Du Bois. Du
What?
Bois's book is like
Oh,
500.
Yes, yes.
Well, his is
600
over 600
pages.
pages. But no, I'd like
600
to get,
pages.
yeah, I'd like to get a copy if there's somewhere. I don't know.
I downloaded Du Bois's book into my computer. That was 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago. Because trying to carry it around just got to be ridiculous, and I found out that it was online.
Is that the
And
Black Reconstruction?
no, the one that I did was Philadelphia Negro.
Oh yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, that was like 600 pages.
Maybe one of our students can find it, an ebook.
Okay.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, if we have that as a foundation for our work, we need to have it available to people.
I think we were trying to make sure it was available in the library at least. And I guess Dr. Button's going to give us a
there
update.
are library. There are library.
Well, I can tell you that Amazon doesn't have it. Amazon says it's currently unavailable and they don't know when it will be back in stock.
Yeah, I saw
know,
that.
One of those the rare book people.
You might find it on eBay or something, but
Yeah,
it's kind of
right.
rare. That's why,
Hmm.
you know, like over the years, there's been talk about reprinting it, and somehow it's
Yes, you're right, Susan.
We should be able to do that if we put it together. I mean, come on, we got 20 million now. We can do that.
It has been.
Sell it to the alumni.
U Press has done it once, but there's no reason why it couldn't do it again. And I'm actually writing a report on the press as we speak and making recommendations, and I'll put that right on the top of the
Good,
list.
good.
Are you saying that
great
they
idea.
reprinted it once, Marilyn? Was it
I think so.
paperback or
I
hard?
think so, Susan, a hard copy. I'm pretty sure there were some at some
I
point.
think it's just been that one printing.
Oh, really? Just
I know it was.
And that didn't get done until it was like after the 60s, maybe in the 70s, because
1976.
right, because I donated toward it then.
Yeah, and I I was working in the library
Right.
under Sophie Cornwell, and I was like proofreading the page proof. So now when I read it and when I see mistakes, I sort of cringe and think, oh, I guess I
Right.
let that one go by.
Yeah.
But no, you know, if Brenda over in, you know, IT or AT or whatever, if she can scan it and do it that way, it's just a lot of pages. I don't know. Is it something that's within her ability to do? If it is, that would be one way
She
to
has
go.
absolutely no time. Brenda could not do it.
Yeah, she,
Okay.
Somebody else to do it. Okay, I think we better move forward.
yes.
The rest of our ladies, and Nazira, we've heard from Abigail. Okay,
Is she on?
Abigail Seraphim,
I don't think she's on.
did
Oh.
she leave?
She must have left.
Oh,
Okay, Taylor Shelton.
Hi, everyone.
no.
Hi.
So, the first one that I had was Dr. Correct me if I'm saying any names wrong, but Dr. Hildreth Poindexter, class of 24.
That's correct. Hildreth Poindexter. Mhm.
Okay.
Got it right.
Yep.
Okay. He was born May 10th, 1901 and passed April 21st, 1987. He was born in Memphis, Tennessee. Sorry, give me 1 second. I have some background noise. I'm gonna shut my door.
Okay, hello?
We hear you.
Okay. Dr. Hildreth Poindexter graduated from Lincoln University in the class of 1924, where he obtained his bachelor's degree in microbiology. Not only was he a Lincoln alumni, but he was also a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated Beta Chapter. After receiving his undergraduate degree at Lincoln, Poindexter received higher education at Harvard in 1929 and Columbia University 1932, which made him the first African American to receive both a master's and PhD degree studying medicine.
A MD and a PhD.
Yes, MD and a PhD. Specifically, he studied epidemiology, bacteria of tropical diseases. And one of Poindexter's best accomplishments was that he received the Bronze Star Award for reducing the spread of malaria infections by more than 80%.
Oh, wow.
He was also a researcher, former lieutenant colonial for the United States Army, first African-American member of the American Society of Tropical Medicine, a mentor and an author, to name a few. His accomplishments continue to inspire others, and his legacy still remains. So the second one was Dr. Robert Johnson. His nickname was Whirlwind, class of 1924. 1924. Born April 16th, 1899, and he passed June 28th, 1971. I believe he grew up in Norfolk, Virginia. During his undergraduate years, Johnson earned a bachelor's degree at Lincoln and later became a physician. He was also known as one of the first African-American physicians to receive practice rights at Lynbridge General Hospital. Dr. Robert Johnson, also called the godfather of Black tennis, was given the nickname Whirlwind because of his quick speed in playing tennis. He was most known for his American Tennis Association Junior Development Program. And through this tennis program, he was a coach and mentor to all who attended, and also helped two famous tennis players' careers by the names of Arthur Ashe and Althea Gibson. The last one is Dr. Mary.
Wait a minute. Well, that's fantastic. Arthur Ashe and Althea Gibson.
Yes.
Are you familiar with who they are?
No.
I'm sorry. I just know that they're two famous tennis players.
No. Those
More
are
than
two
famous, baby. More than famous.
No. Those are icons. Those are groundbreakers. Those. Oh my God. I had no idea.
Yeah, I have to get into
Gibson. You have to, because that sister right there. Oh my goodness. And I'm Arthur. Oh my Lord.
Honey.
So who knew?
I know.
Thank
you. I happen to know because my dad was the class of 24. And I actually met those guys. I met Hildreth Poindexter and I met Whirlwind Johnson. And they were just amazing people. Amazing.
Oh, Hip City Veg.
Hey, Taylor, you have
Yeah, Althea Gibson was also a great, she was a tennis player and she also was a great golfer.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Good.
Wow.
Yes, I have one last one. Her name is Dr. Mary Harris. She was class of 71. She was born on June 26, 1949 in Nashville, Tennessee. She was the only alumni that still living to this day. So, but Dr. Mary Harris was one of the first women to be enrolled at Lincoln University and graduated class of 1971, receiving her bachelor's degree in biology. And also, not to mention, my interest is in medicine. I would like to pursue a career in dentistry after Lincoln, and it was just ironic that I had all three of my Lincoln alum were interested in medicine, so that was interesting.
Mm.
Hmm.
She continued her education further to study molecular genetics and received her PhD from Cornell and also Rutgers University. Her primary focus. I'm sorry, did anybody say anything? I didn't want to cut anybody off.
No, you go right ahead. This is wonderful for me.
Oh, okay. Her primary focus has always been in the medical field and preventive health care. Some of Harris's accomplishments include being a public health administrator, researcher, director of the Sickle Cell Foundation in Georgia in 1977. She's a published author and producer in radio and television. She was a medical school teacher and founder of the Biotechnical Communications production of dissemination against minorities, to name a few.
Discrimination. Discrimination.
No, it was dissemination. Dissemination.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Dissemination.
I had to.
Dissemination.
Yes, dissemination.
Dissemination.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Dissemination.
Word. I have to look that one up.
What did the person disseminate? That means to distribute or
Mhm.
make public.
Spread out.
So usually disseminate information or disseminate rewards or something. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, well, why don't you look into that? But that's
Yes, I'm going to look
great
into
subject.
it.
That's
I'll
good.
get back to you by the end of, hopefully by the end of class. Well, class is almost over. Oh my goodness.
All right, we want to hear from Kaya. Kaya's ready. Kaya?
Yes. I wrote mine a little more in the MLA format though.
Okay, that's fine. Just tell us who you have and what they stand for.
Okay, I'm gonna just read it off to you. It says, biblically, lions are a symbol of courage and power. Dr. Gregory Jenkins, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, and Honorable Thurgood Marshall is a prime example of the Lincoln Lion legacy. Lincoln University was first established April 29th, 1854. From on then, the magnificent university produced many great alumni. Although Lincoln University had a lot of honorable alumni, we'll direct our focus to these three men. First, acknowledging Dr. Gregory Jenkins, professor of meteorology, atmospheric science, geography, and African studies. Dr. Jenkins was born May 13, 1963 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Dr. Jenkins received his bachelor's degree in physics at Lincoln University in 1987, then later earned his master's and PhD in atmospheric science from the University of Michigan in 1989 and 1991. That same year, he started a postdoctoral fellowship in Boulder, Colorado at the National Center of Atmospheric Science. Dr. Jenkins joined the Penn State faculty as a professor in the Department of Meteorology while teaching at Howard University as an associate professor in the Department of Physics and Astronomy. He also was the grad director of Howard University's program in atmospheric science. Dr. Jenkins was a recipient of the NSF Career Award, the NTA Career Award, and the 2007 Alumni Merit Award from the Department of Engineering at the University of Michigan. Dr. Jenkins took part in the NASA African Monsoon Multidisciplinary Analyst Field Campaign in Cape Verde and Senegal. Dr. Jenkins is now holding memberships in History Makers, the American Meteorological Society, American Physical Society, the American Geophysical Union, and serves as an editor in the AGU journal. Jenkins currently lives in Washington, D.C. Next, we have Dr. Benjamin Nnamdi Azikiwe. He was born November 16th, 1904 in Zungeru, Nigeria. Dr. Azikiwe believed that education was the key to advancing African society. In 1925, he left Africa and attended Storer College in West Virginia, Howard University in Washington, D.C., and finally graduating from Lincoln University in the 1930s with a bachelor's in political science. In 1933, he also earned 2 master's degrees in art and science from Lincoln University and the University of Pennsylvania. The following year, Azikiwe returned to Ghana and became an editor for the African Morning Post. Returning to Nigeria, Azikiwe found the West African Pilot and the Zik Group of newspaper. By 1947, Dr. Azikiwe was elected to the Nigerian Legislative Council. On October 1st, 1960, Nigeria became independent from the British government, and Azikiwe became the first indigenous governor general. 3 years later, Dr. Azikiwe became the first president of Nigeria once it was declared a republic. On January 16th, 1966, a military coup drove out the Nigerian government, and this led to the Nigerian Civil War between 1967 and 1970. Nnamdi was one of the most recognizable spokesmen for the Igbo struggle for independence. 2 years after the war ended, the government in Lagos allowed Azikiwe to return to public life. In 1972, he became a chancellor for the University of Lagos and held the position until 1976. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe passed away on May 11, 1996 in Enugu, Nigeria. I don't know if I pronounced that right. And then finally, I have Thurgood Marshall. Honorable Thurgood Marshall was born July 2nd, 1908 in Baltimore, Maryland. Marshall attended Baltimore's Colored High and Training School, which was later renamed Frederick Douglass High School. After graduating in 1926, Marshall attended Lincoln University, where he joined with Kwame Nkrumah, Langston Hughes, and Cab Calloway. After graduating with honors in 1930, Marshall applied to the University of Maryland Law School, but was denied acceptance due to his race. The racial experience that Marshall endured when trying to further his education made a long-lasting impression. From then on, he was determined to further his career. Since Marshall wasn't able to attend law school in Maryland, he attended law school in Washington, D.C. at Howard University. Once graduating from Howard University in 1933, he attempted to establish his practice. With no experience in the field, he was unable to land significant cases. But in 1934, Marshall started working for the Baltimore branch of the NAACP. 2 years later, he moved to New York City and began working as a full-time legal counsel for the NAACP. Once Marshall got to work, he won several cases that helped inspire the civil rights movement. Some cases that Marshall was a part of were the Murray versus Pearson, Chambers versus Florida, Smith versus Albright, and the case that was a turning point for education in the civil rights movement, Brown versus Board of Education. After practicing for many years, President Johnson nominated Thurgood Marshall to serve on the bench of the Supreme Court. On October 2nd, 1967, Honorable Thurgood Marshall was sworn into the Supreme Court Justice, becoming the first African American to serve in the highest court of the nation. Honorable Marshall spent 24 years on the bench. He retired from the Supreme Court in 1999. Justice Clarence Thomas replaced his position. Marshall died on January 24th, 1993, at the age of 84. That's
Well, Kaya, you have made a stunning first shot at doing bio sketches, I have to say.
Yeah, excellent.
Nice job. Okay, so
One
that,
thing you should also know about Ezekwe, he was really the first Black faculty member at Lincoln University. They kept
Really?
saying, yes, the administration and the board kept saying there weren't any qualified Blacks. And somebody said, yes, there are plenty. And he stood up and he said, I'll do it. And there was no way they could turn him down because his academic career had been absolutely stellar.
Yep.
Can I
And
just say
Kaya,
one other thing too? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm
Love.
sorry, and Kaya, you should know that there were two buildings named after Ezekwe and Nkrumah. Is Nkrumah. Those first letters have a strong pronunciation for the name, as in English, we would say it's something else, but it's Ezekwe and Nkrumah.
Nkrumah. No, it's
Find out where those buildings were or still are. I'm not going to tell you unless you already know. Hey, Carol, we're not going to tell her. Let her find out so she can tell us on Thursday.
Sure.
Take a picture.
Take a picture.
ladies, can I say one other thing too? Because I did African studies, it's pronounced Nkrumah, not Nkrumah. There's no A in there, it's Nkrumah. And you've got Ezekwe correct, but it's Nkrumah. And both of those guys, Lincoln University is also distinguished by the fact that we gave Africa 2 presidents.
2 presidents.
Nobody else has done that. We gave them, and they were both first.
First presidents. Yep.
And also, when you talk about Thurgood Marshall, you cannot call Clarence Thomas a Supreme Court justice. He's a subprime court substitute, but he was never a justice. We have to understand that.
He's guilty of injustice, but one of the
Thank
things
you.
to underline for Kwame Nkrumah is that he was the president of the first independent African nation in the world, 1957.
There you go.
Plus, yep.
So we did all that. And
Yes.
Ezekwe recruited Nkrumah to Lincoln so that Nkrumah could learn how to free Ghana.
I think Bond was there when
Zeke was here.
Yeah,
He was there when Nkrumah was there too.
he was also in Ghana when Ghana became independent.
Yeah.
So there's so much more we could say at this point, but I have a meeting at 6:30. I'm sure we have all things to do. So what we're going to do on Thursday is hear the rest of our bio sketches. I'll review this format that Dr. Johnson mentioned, which is absolutely fabulous idea. Give you an update on the library and talk about any issues that have emerged.
May I say one thing very quickly? And it's not a defense, but information for Sister Deja Outerbridge. She actually had her bio sketch written up last week, as you know, and I have a copy of it. And I don't know where she is because it's pretty good. I reminded her, but she did her assignment.
Oh, wonderful. That's so encouraging. And maybe you can bring it. We'll get her here on Thursday, hopefully. Sometimes.
Are we sending our bio sketches in an email to?
Yes.
Okay.
Send to Dr. Button and to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I did send my bio sketches. I was just wondering if you received them, Ms. Black.
Oh, I'm sure I did. I can tell you in a second.
Okay. I sent it. I thought that they were due.
You sent it last Thursday morning.
Right.
Yes.
And also, Taylor also has pictures of her 3 that I was going to ask her to share her screen, but I know we're pressed for time.
Yeah.
So she actually has pictures of the 3
Yes.
alumni.
And
Yes. I have.
would
I
like-
had pictures.
I'd like to say that no one has a corner on writing perfection. So any mentor that would like to offer insights about writing style or whatever, please do so. And students, as I said, you can use the Writing Center and we'll all give you feedback because the final copy is really, we want this to be a writing experience as well as a, in every respect, a learning experience. So that's all I have to say.
Dr.
Carol.
Button?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, could you remind them to cite their references so that we don't have to go digging for them?
I noticed that in Tamara's, actually. I was going to say something, that the citation work begins now. And even
Mhm.
for bio sketches, we need to make sure that we're documenting where we get our information. So don't hold back on showing off the work that you're doing. Thank you for mentioning that. In fact, I would just take some time and don't rush getting these short sketches in, because they're important pieces, they're important documents. So I'd say just if you could do just a little polishing and get them to us before class on Thursday.
And I would only add that based on you did your personal bio sketches, and I hope that I really like at some point, maybe by the middle term, you go back and revise because you left out so much. Most of you said your name first, and it sort of fell off from there. Some of you did a lot better, a good job, but your life is so important. I think you tend to minimize how much you've learned and where you've been and where you've come from. So all that is critically important.
And I would remind everyone that good papers are not written, they're rewritten.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
very good.
That's
And
a good-
edited multiple times. Oh, God.
And do we have,
Nightmares of Lincoln and fighting material.
and do we have all of the participants in this project's bio sketches or biographical
I
information?
believe we do, and I'm going to compile them, at least for the mentors. I don't know whether I have to ask Dr. Button how she does, but sharing with the students. But certainly we can share with the mentors.
There's a lot of back work here and I'm still catching up. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm still catching up. So yeah, we'll put that together. And also the students' bio sketches will have to be reduced for the end of the final version. So we've got a long version and a short version. Okay, my friends, that's it. Moving right along. See you Thursday, same time, same station.
All right, take care.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.